Hey everybody, I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. You are on the lifeboat. Hope you're doing well. This one, people, is no. How do you put this? This one's gonna suck. That's what this one's gonna do. If you have if you happen to have a consultant, somebody that's smarter than you, who works in YouTube, and you call them and you say, thinking of doing a video on Russell Brand and his SA accusations. That person, if they have anything on the ball, will go, no, don't do a video on this. This is the dumbest subject that you could possibly do because you're just not going to make anybody happy, right? And in theory, that's not such a bad thing, right? If you can make everybody unhappy, then you've got a video, right? The problem is when you make half of them unhappy and the other half, that's when you're in deep doo-doo. And so let's start with the top, shall we? Russell Brand has been accused of a host of things, three to be sure, and more probably coming, that deal with things that he did in his past that at best are absolutely horrific and at worst are criminal and carry large prison sentences. The reason that this is even controversial, because let's be honest, it shouldn't be, right? Shouldn't be controversial. But the reason that it is because Russell Brand is the fourth most influential person on the planet. It's crazy, isn't it? That man was voted the fourth most influential person on the planet. Think of all the people that didn't beat him, right? How many presidents do we have that are alive that didn't beat him, right? This is pretty heavy duty. So for that reason, people start to question the timing because Russell Brand has 6.5 million followers on YouTube. So he's a little bit bigger than the lifeboat. It's a very unusual thing. If you look at how he got huge, it's kind of unusual because Russell, during the pandemic, started to put up videos. And if you go through, and I did this, if you go through Russell Brand and you just start scrolling down through the videos and looking at the ones, especially the ones that have a lot of, I was 1, 2, and 3 in answer to your question. Who were the first three? They were all me, actually. I was 1, 2, and 3. I don't know. They just listed him as number 4. They did not list the top 3, so I apologize. But he is the fourth most influential person on the planet, which I don't know what that says about our planet. But when I started looking through Russell's stuff, what really got him huge? I mean, don't get me wrong. He got 100,000. They got like 100,000 views. He was killing it. I mean, he's doing well though. But then he really went big. And when he went big is when he kind of started putting on the tinfoil hat a little bit. And the videos that you see all have things written in there like, you were lied to about this, or you weren't told the truth about this, or we're going to expose the truth about this. And he developed a pretty big audience of people that dig tinfoil hats. That's a fact. You don't have to like me or dislike me for saying that. But he does a lot of that kind of stuff. And that's the delve into politics pretty heavy. So there's a group of people out there that say, kind of odd, the timing of this. Before any of you jump on me, I'm telling you what people are saying. I'm not saying these things, right? But there are people who think the timing of it looks suspicious because currently he is attacking power in a really big way. And since he's the fourth most influential person on the planet, people are listening. And they're listening to things like free speech, right? And stuff that right now is not very popular. Well, he talks about that a lot. So there are now a whole group of conspiracy people who believe that this is because of that this is now coming forward. One of the pieces of evidence that they like to quote is, well, look how long it took for all of this to come out. If this is all real, then why did it take so long? Do me a favor. If you have a penis, don't ever say, why did it take so long for a girl to report something? For real. If you're built with different equipment, you go ahead and say that. But if you got junk between your legs like I do, don't say that because you're just going to sound like a jackass. I promise you. No, even if it's legit, you're going to sound like a jackass. So don't say it, right? It's a thing that should never be said again. Don't say it. Let someone else say it. But here's the deal with this one. The reason that it took us a long time for this to come out is because this was Europe and it's different. Let me explain something. In the last 3 days, someone has made a video accusing me of being a drug addict, a homosexual, and a rapist. 3 different videos. In the last week, I'm pretty fond of women, as a rule of thumb. I don't rape people, right? And, in general, anything they want to say about me, they can say. And then if I want to get a lawyer and I can go to court and I have to prove that they damaged me, right? Because if you say, Tommy's a piece of crap and you can't believe anything he says, if that doesn't damage me in some way, then you can say whatever you want about me, right? Believe it or not, when I hit play the first time, I became what we call in America a public figure. Now I'm not, right? I can walk through the mall like everybody else can. But because I do this, anyone in the mall can say anything they want about me. I'm a public figure, so that they can make things up, they can do whatever they want, right? In Europe, it is a completely different thing. So in Europe, if somebody says, hey, you know what? Tommy Scoville's gay. He's in love with Alan Ballantyne, and this came out on his road trip to Los Angeles. I can say, prove it. And it's the inverse. Instead of protecting the free speech, they protect the reputation. That's literally what it's called, right? They have a law that protects your reputation. So people don't come forward unless they basically got photos. If they don't have a ton of proof, and if the person that they're coming up against, is powerful, say the 4th most influential person on the planet, that would make a woman pretty nervous, knowing that you're going to have to go to court and you're going to have to prove all of the allegations, because that's how it works over there. Now, I'm not saying this cat's innocent or guilty. I'm saying there are 2 different systems. You understand? And in their system, that would keep people from rushing forward to the press and to make accusations like this because of the reputation protection laws. Very, very different. Now, is the timing odd? Yeah, you betcha it is. But that doesn't necessarily mean that these women are lying. I've learned something. And I've learned it recently. This is a new thing for me. But I think that the default setting has to be that you believe accusers. And I know personally people who have been accused of things that they didn't do, right? It happens. But the option is you're going to have to lean one direction or another. And it seems to me that since we crawled, upright, that we have done everything in our power to not believe the accuser. So maybe we should try to flip that a little bit. And that doesn't mean that you say, oh, he's guilty, right? Because proof and facts and things like that are all very important. However, I do think that the default setting should be, you know what? We need to listen to these women. We need to hear their stories and we need to give them the benefit of the doubt. And I don't mean the benefit of the doubt as in, okay, yeah, go ahead, say it. And the benefit of the doubt as in, I believe you, that you're telling me the truth, that this happened. I think that's how we have to go into it. And then we pay the people with the badges to go and make sure that what those women said, has some validity to it. I think that that's got to be the default setting. And that's hard, isn't it? It's especially hard if the person that we're talking about is the 4th most influential person on the planet. I hated Russell Brand in every movie he's ever been in. I like some of the movies. I don't dig the man's the characters. He's a character. He plays he's very typecast. He plays almost a caricature of himself. And I've never really enjoyed it. I never saw him in a movie that I enjoyed. In fact, I dislike him. I disliked his comedy. I disliked everything about the guy. And then he got sober. And let's be really honest, people. As far as if you're a warrior in the whole world of sobriety, well, then he's your hero. Because as far as sobriety goes, there's nobody out there that's giving a better voice right now to the idea of being sober than Russell Brand. There isn't. There's nobody out there doing better. Now, I don't agree with his methods. He is a died in the Wool 12-stepper, right? It has now almost become his religion. He's been very vocal about that he lives his entire life by the 12-step method. That if there's anything bothering him, he applies the same principles to every aspect of his life that he did to drugs, alcohol, and sex. This man has been wicked open about his sexual dalliances prior to getting sober, right? And if you know anything about Russell Brand, the man had a very unusual life. I'm not making excuses for anything ever, but there's always a reason for how things turn out the way they did. He lost his virginity at a young age when his father brought him to a prostitute. It's a concept that I have a tough time wrapping my head around. Really, I don't see how that one moves forward in life and makes you well-rounded. Now, if that's how you lost yours, God bless you. But it seems odd, and he obviously has been really vocally open about the fact that he has a vicious sex addiction. He has, if you read any of his writings, he was talking about 4 and 5 encounters a day, sometimes 9 encounters in a day. I can tell you enough from sitting in this chair that has nothing to do with sex. You understand? Right? He wasn't doing that because he just loves sex. That really had nothing to do with it. Russell Brand felt inferior. He felt as if he was a human being that wasn't built correctly. I think most of us can understand that feeling. He was hellaciously uncomfortable in his own skin, and booze and drugs didn't knock the edge off long enough. It did in the beginning, like it does for most of us, right? All of a sudden, you're a little bit more social, and you're a little bit more fun to be around, and you're a little bit more understanding, and then you're just a little bit more broke and a little bit more addicted and a little bit more strung out, right? So when that stopped getting the job done for him, he began to sleep with as many people as humanly possible. And his thought process, whether he's articulated this as well as other people have, I assure you that his thought process was, if these women are willing to be intimate with me, I can't be that much of a loser. Really. And I know that this is a concept that for some is so foreign. You see, we have this preoccupation with fame in our country, right? And in the world, but especially in America, we have this wild preoccupation with fame. So if you can get into any restaurant you want and you don't have to pay, for your tabs, and if you fly first class everywhere you go, and if when you step off the airplane, people go, "Ooh, look, it's Tommy," well, then life has to be perfect, right? Because that's what it is. Right? That's what it is. Fame makes everything perfect, right? It doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't do anything to make a person whole. And I think that he found himself in a position where the only thing that was making him feel like he was not uncomfortable in his own skin was as much intercourse as the man could possibly muster up. And sadly, I think that again, leaning toward believing the accusers, and I'm going to keep that as my default setting, even if it upsets people. I'm going to keep that as my default setting until I have reason to feel otherwise. It is really easy, I think, for the average person to say, you know what? If you're having sex with 8 people a day and the 9th one goes, yeah, I don't think I really want to do this, you start feeling a certain brand of entitlement that we see happen with stars. So I think the possibility is obviously there. None of us want this to be true. None of us want this to be true. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there are some sick people out there that really, really. Dale, hold on. How are we doing? We better? Dale? All right. So sorry, it prevents migraines. I've got this this headache thing that goes on. It's a blue glare blocker. Everyone can see how that kind of behavior can start to give a person a form of entitlement. Doesn't mean that he did it, but it's something that we see a lot in Hollywood, isn't it? We see people who start to feel entitled to first class airline tickets, and they start feeling entitled to the best table at the restaurant, and not having to deal with this or not having to deal with that, or not having anybody tell them no. Right? I think that there are people out there that don't do well with the word no, and I think that the longer they're entitled, love you, you're way off. He's speaking the truth. I'm not sure if I'm way off. I'll take it. Thank you so much, Eric. I really appreciate it. This is a situation where very often entitled people start to feel that they're entitled to other human beings. which is one of the most frightening things in the entire world. And it certainly created the last mess that we saw with Danny Masterson. Now, there are some people in my life that I care really deeply for. Why? There's one person in my life who I love more than anybody, and I'll let you guys speculate that. We'll give the people a something to make a new video about. That person said to me, "Boy, oh boy, you must really like heat, right? Why would you possibly do this video?" The reason I'm doing this video is more for the Danny Masterson case than it is for anything else, because these two things are now becoming one, and that's a friggin' problem. Okay, these two things are becoming one, and that's an issue. There is a group of people on the planet right now who, and I've said this so many times, man, I've said this so many times. Pull that string far enough, and what happens? When it snaps back, it doesn't snap back to where it started from. It snaps back to the opposite direction. My fear is that we are getting a backlash of people who are starting to say stuff like, all of these women are just, or all of this is just. This is a road we can't go down. You understand? This is a road we can't go down. I am not the fifth most influential person on the planet. I don't think I made it in the top 10 yet. Give me time though, right? But I'll tell you what, I'm the most influential person on the lifeboat, which is a pretty cool thing. So I don't want anybody saying things like, these women are liars. If they get proved that what they're saying is not truthful, if it gets proved that they're being paid by somebody to say it, I'm going to come on here and I'm going to tell you about it. I promise. But we're going to believe them here on the lifeboat until we have some proof to not believe them. And that's just the way it's always going to be on this boat from this point on. And I think that's the way that it has to be. If not, we're losing it as a society. And right now, the Danny Masterson camp is saying, see, look, they're blaming everybody. And they're honestly, you're seeing their faces side by side in the same tabloids. You're seeing Danny Masterson's face right next to Russell Brand's. That's a problem, people. That's a problem. One is somebody that has been accused of something, and one is somebody that is a convicted aurist who is spending the rest of his life in prison. One has about as much to do with the other. Sorry. We must use polarized lenses in criminal cases. No one knows everything. Thank you, Carousel Delirium. Yeah, the polarized. You know what? They do drive people nuts. I get the damn. I get this all the time. And if you could see how we do the lighting to try to make it so that won't light up on my glasses, I apologize. The only way it doesn't light up is if I do this number. Like if I look through the camera, if I actually look at you, then you're going to see it. And it's frustrating. For that, I apologize. The other option was always this. And the problem is that when I go this route, right, not only do you get a lot of it, but number one, I look like one of the biggest losers on the internet, and I'll let you wonder who that is. And number two, if I put on glasses that are tinted, there'll be a video tomorrow about how I was tripping on LSD and I didn't want you to see my pupils. They have a pretty good time with me. Whole sober thing. So where does this leave us? Where does this leave us? Because I'll tell you something, people. We're going to hear a lot in the very near future about this case. We're going to hear more about this than we want to. I promise you. You're going to hear so much more about this than you want to. I would like everybody. You do whatever you want. Most of you have made your mind up already. I got so many emails from people that said, can you believe how bad they're screwing Russell Brand? I've got 30 or 40 emails. I'm not kidding you, from people who have said that. I don't know if he's getting screwed or not. I don't. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that none of you do either. So what you kind of got to go with is what's in front of you, because there's no way for us to be able to say definitively about anything, right? That this happened, this didn't happen, whatever. There are people who can say that. I'm not one of them. But what I can tell you is this. I've read a lot of things that Russell Brand has written. I have listened to a lot of what that man said. And he has been brutally open about his sexual liaisons while he was still using. And even when he describes normal sexual activity, it sounds like there's something wrong. And I don't struggle to believe that these things happened. I don't. And it hurts me because I love what this man has done for the recovery community. I think he has done more for recovery than anybody has in a very, very long time. With sunglasses, you look a little like Joe Satriani. Please tell me you know who he is. Of course I know who he is, right? He's a scientist that worked on, man, he's one of the greatest guitar players of all time. It's Joe Satriani. I've seen Joe Satriani actually in concert. And I was with Alan Ballantyne. We were driving on our way to LA, and they were advertising that it was going to be not Yngwie Malmsteen, but the other one. It was two really incredible guitarists, and one was Satriani, and I don't remember who the other one was, but it was going to be a hell of a concert. Alan and I were talking about how probably going to be a couple of guitar solos with that one. So what we're left with, people, is a guy that has admitted that his sex life was not normal, right? His sex life was really not normal. And we live in a day and age where every single thing you say is recorded, every single thing you say, especially if you're in the public light, and if you're the fourth most influential person on the planet, there's a lot out there. There's like 1 million hours of him talking. And a lot of what he says, if you just take it and listen to it, you'd go, that man should be arrested. I mean, the Joe Bonamassa was not, but I'll tell you something. I am a Joe Bonamassa fan. One of the great guitarists, just a blues. If you like blues, man, Joe Bonamassa he's still out there and he's still doing it. And he could sit down next to you on the subway and you wouldn't know who he is, but the guy is a bona fide rock star, really a bona fide rock star. But no, it wasn't. If it was, we might have turned around and saw the concert actually. Seven's son found a wooden shoe in his toilet. It was clogged. I love it. So there is a lot that this man has done to talk about addiction, a lot. And by the way, he splits addiction camps dramatically. 12-step people love him. There are some 12-step people who don't love him for the reason that he hammers really hard on the sex addiction thing. There are people who believe that sexual addiction is not a thing. I'm not sitting there to take sides on any of that. There are people, there are entire camps and there are books that have been written but I'm here to tell you this, okay? If taking this thing and slamming it on your finger, right, helps you feel comfortable in your own skin, you're addicted to it. You can church it up. You can call it anything you want. You can get into all the semantics. Addiction is a behavior that we use in order to help us feel normal in a world that we're not normal in. And we continue to do that behavior or that chemical in the face of horrible reasons to quit. All kinds of reasons to say what you're doing is wrong. But another doesn't much matter, right? Whether it's real or not, doesn't much matter. What matters is he is accused of some vile things, right? And not just, there is a tendency for people to have the boys being boys. He's a rock star, so he whipped his junk out in a bar. You know what I mean? Like there's almost a we celebrate celebrity, right? Ben Roethlisberger pulled out his manhood and walked the length of a bar. The football player pulled his junk out and walked the length of a bar for the entertainment of all people inside. It made the front page of a couple of magazines, and he took a little bit of crap for it. If it had been me, I would have done 10 years in prison, right? I mean, that's how it works. We treat celebrity differently than we treat other people. It is our royalty in the U.S. And although he is not born in the U.S., he is certainly calling America his home these days. The most important part of this to me is whether or not it's not so much. You know what? This is a very popular opinion. Eric says he has exposed the truth, and that's why. That is a popular opinion among a lot of people. And he is absolutely talking about a lot of things that people do not want him to talk about. That's a fact. I did a deep dive and I went through a lot of the crap that this guy talks about. And I say crap, not because I don't think, agree with it or anything, all of the stuff that this guy talks about. And he most assuredly has morphed into a person who like the love of my life, who said, whatever you do, you're not putting this thing up, right? There are thumbnails that are going to draw all kinds of heat. Yeah. I mean, obviously. Okay. Well, every thumbnail that he puts up, he's trying to anger the powers that be. And he has been very successful in it. The timing is suspect as hell. Even the people who say he is 100% guilty, the girls are telling the truth. It took so long to go forward because of how difficult it is to go forward in that country. And absolutely all of this happened. The timing still stinks, right? Because he's the fourth most influential person on the planet, and he's going after power. He is absolutely doing everything he can to hurl mud at power, right? Plain and simple, he is. That doesn't mean that he's not a rapist. Sorry. You know what I mean? I like the guy. I really do. I like the guy's message. I love when he talks about free speech, the hair on the back of my neck stands up. And he articulates free speech better than any born American I've ever met. That doesn't mean he's not a rapist. He is probably one of the greatest spokesperson on earth today for sobriety, for saying that you can live a life and be happy and that it doesn't have to be a life of slavery. He has helped so many people. If I've helped 5, he's helped 5 million. But that doesn't mean he's not a rapist, right? So if we can not confuse the two of them, right? If we cannot confuse the two of them. Well, Eric, appreciate the super chat. In order to say that this man isn't guilty of what he's charged with, there are at a minimum of 3 women who I'm just going to have to say they're liars, and I'm not ready to do that at all. I'm not. And if I'm going to screw that one up, and I'm probably going to in the course of my career, I'm going to screw that one up. But I met the Jane Does. And before I met the Jane Does, I heard a lot of people say a lot of stuff. And there were people who had theories on the Jane Does and whether or not they were in it for money or they were in it for this or they were in it for whatever. And I want to tell you something. I'm going to screw up on the sheep side, Eric. I'm going to screw up on the side of I'm going to believe these women until something proves that that is in fact not the case. And I'm going to do that because after watching what the Jane Does went through, and I only had to watch a hallway, people. I only had to watch 2 hours of what they went through. Right? They've been living with this for how long? I watched 2 hours of it. There's nobody in their right mind. There's nobody in their right mind that would put themselves through what these people have put themselves through for any reason other than an overwhelming need for justice. Right? Again, Eric, I dig everything this guy says. I really do. I love listening to Russell Brand. He is an excellent speaker. He really is. He's got a couple of mannerisms I could do without, but he's an excellent speaker. He's a great communicator, and a whole lot of the message that he has to talk about. I love his free speech stuff, his stance on government. I think he is as articulate a voice for what it means for the people to represent themselves as up there with founding fathers. If you listen to the stuff that this guy says, he's incredible. Doesn't mean he's not a rapist, right? Doesn't. And what I have to go on the other side is hours and hours and hours and hours of this man talking about the things that he did sexually that most of us would find a little off kilter, right? A little off kilter. Does Russell have a defense? Yeah, I think he does. I think that anybody that is accused has a defense. And we usually start with the obvious, right? We start with things like this. I'm accused of such and such by this person. Was I in the same town as this person at any given time, right? We start with the real obvious. If these two people have never met, we can pretty much rule out the fact that he did anything. So we start with the painfully obvious, and then they go down through that entire process. And in order for things to become charged, then there has to be a system of people who look at it. In some countries, it's a grand jury, and in some, it's set up different ways. But they looked at the evidence laid out in an evidentiary hearing and said, "There's enough here for us to move forward," or whatever. Right? His defense will be, I would imagine, that his defense is going to weigh heavy on the fact that this is a conspiracy. And I think the reason that he'll go with that is because, number one, it's fairly logical because he's the 4th most influential man on the planet. And number two, there's a lot of magazines and a lot of newspapers that are already writing articles about how this is a conspiracy and how, you know what? Oh, Danny Masterson didn't do it either. This is just a chance for everybody to get back at all of those bad boys in Hollywood, right? It's pretty friggin' sad. It is. And don't think that the evil cult is not pumping money into this. Don't think that they are not thinking this is the greatest thing that ever happened in the entire world, right, for the Masterson camp. Because they're going to try to smear with a very disgusting broad brush any woman who has ever made a accusation against anyone. And that's messed up. Sounds like it's I think you mean vendetta, like it's a vendetta. I mean, there's a lot of people, Eric, who are absolutely in your corner. There's a lot of people who believe that this is exactly what this is. This is an attempt to get rid of the fourth most influential voice on the planet that happens not to agree with anybody in government. A lot of people who believe what you believe. I don't have a problem with anyone that thinks this guy's getting set up. You hear me? I don't have a problem with anyone who thinks this guy is getting set up. How's that? My problem is if you think that in the process of that these three women are liars. That's my problem. That's where I'm going to draw the line. Now, did people who want him gone spend a tremendous amount of money to go and try to find every person he ever messed around with to see if any of them may have had a complaint of this nature? That could have happened. I have no idea. I don't. But if that's the case, if a private investigator went to one of these people's houses and said, I wanted to talk to you about Russell Brand, and they said, you know what? I didn't go forward because I couldn't prove the case, and I would have had to because of the cash the guy's got and the reputation lawless, doesn't make the girl's story any different, no matter how they found her. You understand me? This is going to become a thing, right? And what I mean is, we're going to hear about this so much. I was sitting there and I was thinking to myself today, I'm going to be screwed into talking about this one way or the other. There's no way I'm not going to be able to talk about this, right? I could skip this, couldn't I? This is the biggest voice in rehab on earth. I could skip that. Probably wouldn't be a good idea, but I could skip that. It is being tied to the Danny Masterson case, which, for better or worse, we are now absolutely tied to, right? We are absolutely tied to this case as well. Hold on one second. I'm sorry. This is a great comment. I'm sorry, but this is a great comment. The BBC hid Jimmy Savile's crimes for many years. Was just watching Andrew Gold and Aaron. And apparently, production company had to not hire as many women on Brand's productions. People knew. Look, I've read this. There's the Jimmy. I had to put that up just for the Jimmy Savile thing, because we hear this all the time where people go, "Oh, if it was happening, Jimmy did it for decades, and the entire world knew." I mean, we're talking about dozens and dozens and dozens of victims, and this is something that was known. Like, people joked about it. So we're not going to know the answers. We're not. Even when it's done, people. Even when it's done, we don't know the answers. I sat in the courtroom when they sentenced Danny Masterson, which, by the way, was a highlight. I can't tell you. What we knew was he was guilty, but the details, the Jane Does and he are the only people that know the real what happened. Fortunately, he's going to have a lot of time to think about it. He didn't say that. Christy Caldwell makes a great point. He didn't say he didn't do this. He said it was mutual. And again, people, we're going to hear there's going to be so much made about this. There's going to be so much made about this. And you know what? I'm fine with that. Right? I'm fine about that. I think it's good that this stuff needs to be talked about. It really does. It needs to be talked about. What doesn't need to happen is for the Danny Masterson case and this case to somehow be connected to each other, because they're not in any way, shape, or form. They're in no way are they related, right? And the fact that tabloids and newspapers seem to be saying, Well, he's really obvious, right? Look what's happening to Russell Brand. It's the same thing that happened to, that's BS, man. That's BS. Danny Masterson is a piece of crap. And today he is exactly where he is supposed to be. If Russell Brand did what he is accused of, well, then the legal system will take care of it. That's how tall is little Danny? I can't answer that question, Eric. I don't know that off the top of my head. I guarantee you somebody could Google it really quickly. Seeing him sitting in a chair, I probably would have guessed about 5'7", would have been my guess. But that is just based on me seeing him sitting in a chair. So I don't know that 100%. Thank you again for the super chat. I appreciate you. Christy says, I'm not defending or condemning. I watched his response and I am waiting for the facts before judging. Holy hell, you can't do that. Christy, what is wrong with you? Good Lord, people. Did you hear this? Huh? This is literally absolutely insane. Christy writes, I'm not defending or condemning. I watched his response and I'm waiting for the facts before judging. 36 minutes in, I think we could call it, right? Could we all just agree to do what Christy just said? Huh? What do you think? Jilbo, good to see you. Missed you too. Good to see you. What do you think, people? You ready to make that pledge? I'll bet you most of us can't. I'll bet you most of us can't. That's a tough one. It is. It's a tough one. I'm going to wait for the facts to decide. That's a hard thing to do, man. It's a difficult thing to do. It really is, especially because of what we're talking about. I'm only 5'10" and 3/4, almost 5'11", not too tall. Tommy Bird, that's tall enough. Danny Masterson is in fact 5'9", says Gypsy Daisy. Okay, see, I was close. Not too bad, considering I saw him only sitting down. Basketball Jones, good to see you. Long time. Good to see you. Well, basketball, there's a lot of guys who believe what you believe. There are a lot of guys who believe what you believe. My distrust in government is probably second to none. I'll tell you this right now, people. For those that don't know, you can't name a tinfoil book I didn't read, right? I mean, I spent a lot of time in prison, and I had a lot of time to read, and I had FOIA, and I had all kinds of things. So everybody that has made a living talking about all of the different conspiracy theories out there, I've read them all. I really have. I've read them all. Some of them I absolutely believe in. I won't get into it. I've done a few tinfoil hat shows. I certainly believe that the alphabet agency that starts with a C and ends with an A is the largest drug dealer on the planet and has been since the 1960s when they started using drug money to fund wars all over the planet. Right? I believe that. But sometimes it feels like if you believe a conspiracy theory, you have to believe all of them, right? Like we're part of this inner group that, well, we believe all of this, right? We believe 9/11 was a hoax, and we believe that Oklahoma City was done by 14 people, and there was somebody on the grassy knoll, right? Can you pick and choose? Can you believe one of them and not the other? Because it seems very often that it's an all-in kind of a camp kind of a thing. But I'll tell you something. This very well could have conspiracy all over it. I'm willing to say that this could have conspiracy all over it. Yes, the Hegelian dialectic. Yes, it was mentioned. Send me an email. I want to do a whole show, but I'd love to talk to you. This could be a conspiracy from the word go. This could be a conspiracy to remove the fourth most influential person on the planet. That could very well be the case, right? I'm willing to admit that right now. You hear me? I am willing to admit that right now. I'm not willing to say that those three girls are lying. I'm not. And if you want to unsubscribe for that, or send me some bad mail, my default setting is going to be to believe until I got a reason not to. And this guy was real open about the amount of sex that the guy had, and it's like, I don't have a problem as a guy who did tons of drugs, ungodly amounts of drugs. I don't have a problem visualizing somebody wasted enough that after the fourth woman he has had sex with in 15 minutes, the fifth says, I don't think so. I could see somebody like that just assuming that that is something he was entitled to. Doesn't mean it happened, but I sure as hell can wrap my brain around it. So I'm going to go with I'm going to believe these girls until I got a reason not to. And that reason will be he's found innocent, right? Or charges are dropped or any of those things. Right? That would be big ones for me. This isn't a fun subject. It's not. Right? Who wins? We got people out here that are real obviously on the side of Russell Brand, right? And there's a lot of you. Now, I don't just mean here. I just mean here, right? Maybe Brand was hired by the Koch brothers to lie for money. Oh man, I can tell you something so funny right now, but then about half of you would unsubscribe. It's really funny. I'm more than ready to say I want proof. Good. I think I want proof is a great thing to say. I think I want proof is a great thing to say. I really do. The problem that I have is this. The problem I have is if you say, I want proof, and until I get it, those three are whores who lie, right? If we go that route, then we're screwing up really bad. And sadly, we've done that for decades. We've done that for centuries. Yeah, I can't win this. I shouldn't have done the show. I should have listened to my Violet Gypsy. Two things can be true at the same time. You're right. Like Tommy can be stupid and anyway. You're right. Two things can be true at the exact same time. You're right. Two things can be true at the exact same time. Scarlet Cook says, pretty sure he did it. He basically wrote about it, didn't he? It's a weird one because he was so open about it. We condoned his behavior. We did. We condoned his behavior. And you know what, people? Let's be really honest. We want to see people change. If that wasn't the truth, there would be 8 people watching this instead of 126. You guys like seeing somebody that comes up off the deck and stops doing drugs and stops robbing banks and stops acting like an ass, right? Well, he wasn't robbing banks, but he was definitely acting like an ass. And the question becomes, how far did it go? Why is it now? All of the things. I understand why all of you are asking all of the questions that you're asking. I really like what this man has done for free speech. I really like what this man has done for sobriety. And I hope that this didn't happen. I really do. I hope that this didn't happen. Ben Turner, boy, find me the rock you're living under, Ben. Huh? I want to move into Ben's rock. Conan said it in 2004. That's crazy. I assume you're talking about Danny Masterson. Is that because that Conan clip is pretty incredible? Conan says to him, "They're going to catch you eventually." Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. Tommy Bird says, "Captain, I don't." Tommy's got it nailed. Captain, I don't know, brother. As far as people reacting, I guess we get what we pay for. I know nothing about this. However, it's right now, no joke whatsoever, right? This is not even a joke. This came as close to shutting down the internet as almost anything has in a very long time. When this broke, what this did to the internet was incredible. There were servers that were crashing because there were so many people that want to weigh in on this. If you take all the platforms together, I mean, there's about a half of America that is subscribed to this guy in one way or another. So there's definitely a lot there. Timing is the key. Could have happened. Yet they used it now to divide and conquer. Now ask yourself why. You know what? I mean, whether you agree or disagree, how can you argue with this comment? Timing is the key, right? Could have happened. It absolutely could have happened. Yet they use it now to divide and conquer. Now ask yourself why. I'll tell you something, people, that's unusual. I was reading I was doing a deep dive on a pollster, on a guy that makes polls for a living. You know, asks people questions to try to figure out, you know, who will be elected or who will be what. And I was reading into kind of the history of polling in general, uh, and they started to talk about a previous election. It's one that's over now, makes no difference. But they thought someone was going to be running on the Democratic ticket, and as it turns out, that person did not get the nomination. But just in case they did, they had a 4,000-page dossier on that person from the first time they took a sip of milk until they decided that they were going to run for president. Every single thing they could dig up on him. And that is the world that we live in, right? We live in that world. And if we didn't live in it before, this thing knows the last time you broke wind, right? And where you were when you did it. That's the world we live in, people, for real. Let's hear what Eric has to say. Eric says, talking the truth, you will get silenced. You know, there's certainly reason to believe that those fond of the truth often end up quieted. I can't argue that. I really can't. All we know is that there are accusations. I'm a survivor. I know how hard it is to be believed again. I thank Tommy for being a stand-up guy. Many advocates are running the other way. Thank you. Thank you, LNG. I appreciate that. I mean that. It means a lot. I am a Jane Doe that found no justice, which is why I won't condemn Russell Brand or the accusers. It's not our job. Wow. Wow. Gypsy, thank you. It's heartbreaking that there are so many people out there that didn't get justice. The least we could do is believe them, huh? Are there people out there that are going to lie about it? Yep, there are. I mean, that's the way it goes, but CK says it's a distraction from a new law against free speech in England. He's still guilty, though. Okay. Hold on one second. Just making sure. Sorry, people. On the bright side, this is going to be happening less. I am making some changes to my 5. So, but being getting a little bit more busy these days. Let's see something here. Louis C.K. admitted flashing Led Zeppelin, all with underage girls. Steven Tyler, 14-year-old, and yet no repercussions. How far back should we go? It is a mess. Boy, the Led Zeppelin stuff is terrifying. I'm just glad that you didn't put out any details concerning that. It has gone on for an eternity. This is a suck subject matter. It would be really great if you just never, ever had to do it. Know what I mean? I mean, I'd be really stoked to not be doing this. Trivia would be more fun, right? But my big reason for this. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate you, brother. I really do. And you know what, Eric? I appreciate the fact that you can make your points and do it as a gentleman. That's hats off stuff for real. You know what I mean? You have been crystal clear in your beliefs, and I don't think you've been disrespectful in any way. And that should show people that it's possible, right? We all don't have to agree, but we can all agree to get along. It's not such a tough thing to do. Slingblade says, let's just go back to the beginning of time and lock up everyone, and then we can just start over. Well, that's not such a bad idea. The truth of the matter is, and God Almighty, you know what? I got my friend right now, and I know they're going, oh God, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. You're so close to the end of the show. Don't do it. Whatever you're about to say, don't do it. Thank you, Carousel Delirium. Really appreciate it. You know, Carousel Delirium helps with the boat, and is doing some considerable work behind the scenes. And I fell asleep in mid sentence with Carousel Delirium. Carousel was trying to teach me something about the computer that would actually really greatly benefit the show, and it had been just a really hell of a day. And I had done all of the hospital and testing and all of that day as well. And I literally just like fell asleep on top of a laptop. And when I woke up in the morning, there was a message from her that just said, "Nice." But appreciate all your help, Carousel. And I apologize for not staying awake. Don't do it, says Tommy Bird. Yeah, I'm not going to do it. How's that? I was going to say something and I'm just not going to. And I actually feel like perhaps I'm a little bit smarter than I was when I started this. Hey, Eric, thank you, man. It's a really cool thing to say. Really is a cool thing to say. And I'm glad that you're here, Eric. I really am. I'm glad all of you are here. I am blessed beyond belief with this platform. Jen Miller, good to see you. I'm blessed beyond belief with this platform. And you know what, people? I'm not the fourth most influential person on the planet. But oddly enough, I have found myself. Thank you. Quiet Girl just gifted 5 memberships, or Tommy, I just gifted 5 memberships, and they aren't there. Well, that's not good. I will get up with you and we will figure out what happened. That's bizarre. Fortunately, I wish I knew something about it. I'm so bad at all of this. Where is Carousel Delirium when you need? So the question is this, peeps. Here's what it comes down to. This is kind of it in a nutshell. I'm not the 4th most influential person on the planet, and I'm in no danger of becoming the 5th most influential person on the planet in the near future. I'm not. But about 150,000 people will take a look at something that I say over the course of the month. And I don't know that was something that it wasn't something that I was anticipating when I started making videos about getting sober. I certainly didn't think that I would be talking live to people, and I didn't think I'd be talking live to lots of people. But I think that whether your platform is huge or whether your platform is your next door neighbors and the 3 people you talk to at the water cooler at work, if you find yourself with a platform of any kind and you don't use it, then perhaps that's a sin of sorts. Hey, good to see you, Noise Opera. I love you, Nick. You understand? So here I find myself with a group of people who do actually listen, and I would feel remiss and I wouldn't feel right about myself if I didn't say that I want Russell Brand to be innocent of this. Right? I want him to be innocent of this more than anything in the world. I dig him. I dig everything he does, like except his acting. But I dig since he quit using. I love every single thing that the guy does. I really hope that this isn't true, right? But because I love him and because he's a great speaker and because he's good on sobriety doesn't mean he's not a rapist. And I'm going to go with believing the women until I got a reason not to. Is that fun? No, it's not. It sucks. I like my stuff really wrapped up nicely, right? Maybe 8x10 glossies in a videotape of him doing it. So there's no doubt whatsoever, right? Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way very often, does it? So we have to act like human beings, right? We got to act like human beings. And this human being, in honor of Gypsy Daisy and anybody else that didn't get justice in any way, I'm going to default to believing the girls, and that's about all I got to say on that. Thank you, Eric. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. I mean that. It means a lot to me. It really does. And thank you, everyone, for sticking tough during the growing pains. We got Boy, have we got an exciting week coming up, people. We got a really exciting week. I will be announcing the name of the show that I'm going to be going on. I'm going to announce it probably tomorrow or the next day. The only reason that I'm not announcing it now is because I haven't spoken to the producer as to whether or not it's cool for me to out this. You will have heard of the show. It's a cool platform. It really is. It's a YouTube channel, but it's a good one. And it's long form. You want long form? Like this is going to be more than you ever wanted to know about Tommy Scoville. Certainly more than I ever want to talk about. But I'm excited about it. I really am. Jojo, thank you so much. Pounds, you say? I love seeing the pound sign. There's something about British sterling that it just looks so much cooler than the S with the lines through it. Is it me? Am I just an Anglophile? I absolutely love the look of the British. Hold on 1 second. John Doe, where am I starting? John, what did I do wrong? Alleged victims. Apparently, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say, I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. You have been watching The Lifeboat. And that's here. Huh? That's a cat in a basket. You know what? If you do this long enough, I swear to God, if you do this long enough, right? You guys don't. I wish you could see the big picture, right? I wish you could back up. Someday, maybe I'll take a picture and show you guys what Alan's seen it. But right next to me, they got this pad of paper, right? And as I'm talking to you right now, I'm writing on it. All I'm writing is the word writing, but I sit and I jot stuff down. And because when you do this long enough, right, you end up talking to so many people and you see so much go by so fast that it's easy to attribute things people say to the wrong person. There's all kinds of things that you can do. So I jot down things that people. It is a cat in the basket, to be sure. It is definitely a cat in the basket. But you jot these things down because the last thing in the world you would want to do is attribute something to the wrong person or whatever. But I think I've gotten to a point after 2 years where I swear to God, if you show me six comments from one person, I can usually tell you everything that I need to know about that person. It's absolutely hysterical. I think it's such a unique phenomenon. You realize that there was no such thing as what we do here. 25 years ago, this didn't exist. 30 years ago, this wasn't a thing. The word influencer didn't exist. The word YouTuber didn't exist, right? What we do here is so damn unique and it's so new and it's so bizarre. And sometimes I think we may lose sight of the fact that we are in the middle of the biggest experiment in history, right? I think that's what it is, man. I think that's what it is. We're going for a double dip since I didn't end in such a nice way. There you go. That's a cat in the basket. How you doing, kitty? Yeah? All right. How's that? Double up on the cat. Good night, everybody.